Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. Welcome to the Healit Show. It's so good to have you here today. Quite frankly, my heart is always open when I do these shows. And the reason for that is because we have so many people that are getting benefited from these shows and really taking their businesses and their lives and their families' lives and their communities' lives to a whole new level, quite frankly. You know, our show today is called Healit and Unlock the Power to Thrive. So, it's interesting. I had a friend of mine on one of my shows here the other day. His name is Mark Victor Hansen. He's sold more books than anybody in the world. He's co-creator and co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. So he lives in my neighborhood out here in the Arizona area. And Mark and I were talking, and he was talking about, Ken, I think it's time for you to 10X your business. I was like, 10X my business. Wow. Okay. So go from, we've got literally millions of people listening to these shows these days to maybe tens of millions. That's interesting. I'm not sure I'm ready for that, but I accept the challenge. We're ready to step into something new. Now, listen, a lot of you aren't in a place where you're going to go, I'm going to 10X my life right now. I get it. There's past traumas, there's negativity. Some of you have this self-criticism going on. You're talking to yourself in negative ways. By the way, I had a guest on my show the other day, and he was interesting. He said about negative self-talk. He said he's a scientist, so he's done the research, right? And you probably heard that we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day running through our minds, right? But what I didn't know is that for a lot of people, about 80% of those are disempowering negative thoughts. Interesting. Thoughts like, well, I don't think I can really do that. Oh, I don't think, just like me. I said, I don't know if I can 10X my business. But when we start to really get conscious and we step back and we start listening to the thoughts that are going on in our mind, we start to realize that maybe there's something better here that we can think, right? And some of you, are listening to this show because you want to step into courage. We have another show that we do. It's called The Voices of Courage, where we bring in guests around courage. In this show, we bring in people on this show, doctors, practitioners, authors, speakers, trainers, people that can help you upshift your the way that you think about health and vitality and living a lifestyle that really helps you to upshift. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And, some of you have lack of supportive relationships out there, and you really need to start to surround yourself with people that really know how to help you heal it, right? Listen, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're expecting different results, right? Stop. Okay, just stop, because that's not going to work. You've got to surround yourself with people that have wisdom. You don't need more information. You need people with wisdom, with experience that can really help you take your life to the next level. That's what my first and only guest today has. She has a new book out. Her second book, this first book was tremendously successful. The second book is out now, and we're going to be talking about helping you to thrive like never before. 10X your thriving today. All right, I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, you're going to have this my amazing guest, Cortney. We'll be right back. Everybody, this is your host, Ken D. Foster. My guest is Cortney McDermott today. Cortney, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken. We're excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. For those of you that don't know Cortney, she's a best-selling author. She's a TEDx speaker and mind-body expert with a Master's of Science from the London School of Economics. Her work in the field of self-development and business strategy has been featured in Inc., Women's Health, Success, Huffington Post, Fox News, and many other mainstream business and lifestyle media. Cortney's career highlights include her time as an executive at Vanity Fair Corporation, vice president at Sustainability Partners, Inc., and then running her own businesses with clients and audiences at Universal Music Group, Google, Nike, and Virgin Unite. Cortney speaks 4 languages. She lives in Italy and the U.S., in San Diego, best place to be in the U.S., and anyway, it's great to have you, Cortney.
Thank you. Yeah, I am finding that out about San Diego. I love it here. Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. What part of Italy were you from?
I lived up north in a place called Bassano de Grappa, and before that, I was living in Pietre. Both of them are very near to Venice. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Well, that's one that's on my bucket list to get over to Venice and go visit a friend of mine, Urban Laszlo, down in the Tuscany area. So,
Nice.
yeah, look forward to that very, very soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, okay. How did you get on this journey of self-improvement, self-development, having a happier life? What started for you, Cortney? Where'd you start it?
Oof. I think I started it shortly after I was born. I've always been fascinated by human potential. I've always been a student of human potential. And I guess it really erupted when I got to that point that everyone says you're supposed to get to in order to be happy and have everything just so. And I realized when I got to that place of, as I called it, collecting a lot of gold stars, I had all of those. And then I felt miserably successful. It was like I'd gotten to this place. And so I realized, oh, shoot, this isn't it. This isn't it. Time and time again, all of these success being perennially around the corner and then getting there and realizing, oh, gee, this isn't it either. And so really having to understand, okay, what is this script that's running inside me and how do I start deciding what that script's going to be instead of letting myself be led by this? Almost, I would say a lot of that activity is driven through a sort of feeling of not enoughness or needing to get somewhere other than where you are. And so when I started to really tune into that and understand it, I started putting out my first book, my first TEDx talk, and all these other things that have led me now to where I am.
You said something that I think a lot of people can relate to. I know I sure can. And that is being miserably successful. I remember getting to the top of my several careers and just, being busy as crazy, not having time for my children, not having time for me, not taking vacations, just go, go, go to, checking off all the boxes every day, but waking up and going, is this what I really want? Is this happy? Am I happy? And the answer was no. Right. Yeah. A lot of people get to that place. All right. Well, you got a new book out. What inspired you to write Give Yourself Permission?
It sort of came as a download. I think it was also a mix of working with so many people in these high profile positions who were struggling with the same things we're talking about. And I started to realize it's really ourselves that get in the way, right? It's almost like we become our own bottleneck. The more we pursue these illusions of success and these illusions of what it means to be happy, instead of it's always externally prompted. And so that first book that was Change Starts Within You was, okay, how do we start to make this change internally so that then what's happening in that environment can start to affect the external environment? But this second book, Give Yourself Permission, just like the third book that's coming through right now, is very much almost like this is the message. And the chapters, they all came as just immediate. This is how it's supposed to be conveyed. And some are about how to give yourself permission to do what you love, and then how to give yourself permission to make a lot of money doing what you love, which is something I often see with people who are willing to take this leap, but then they almost, as you were saying at the very beginning too, of like, can I really do this? Or am I ready for this kind of thing? And so it's that place of, hey, wait, if I don't give myself permission, who's going to do it? Right. And
it's interesting because I think, a lot of people have a dream of making a lot of money. Okay. But I think that piece you just said, can I give myself permission to really do it? That's interesting.
Yes. Yes. And it comes back to your connectedness with that form of consciousness, which is wealth consciousness. Mm-hmm. And it's really giving yourself permission to connect with the wealth consciousness that is within you, and that can become a wellspring of wealth in every regard. Because I don't think wealth is just about money. I believe that wealth is ultimately also freedom. So understanding behind that wish for wealth, what's really there, and then giving yourself permission to connect through, your conscious awareness to that.
100%. And, I saw in your bio, you've studied the ancient wisdom. You've studied the science. You've come up with practical solutions around this, and at one level, it all starts in the mind. I mean, if you have baggage, if you are thinking that I'm never going to be healthy, I've got all these genes that I inherited, all these diseases from my parents and my grandparents. If you have that mindset, you're probably right. Yeah. But what we're talking here, Cortney's talking here, is to shifting that mindset into a higher way of thinking. So how does one start that path, Cortney? How does one really start it, right? How do you know? I mean, let's say you got health issues, you got money issue, you got relationship issue, you got a lot of things going on, and you're going, and it all seems like it's coming at you at once. So where do you start?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't start with the thought. I would not start at the level of the thought. It is incredibly arduous work to start there, because what a lot of people don't know is what you were sharing at the beginning of this. And, the estimates are roughly in that range of that you were talking about, but anywhere between 50 to 70,000 thoughts, right? And these are electrical impulses. Yeah. So most people are not guiding the thought process at all. They're electrical impulses. And with everything that neuroscience and neuroscientists have shown us through the brain, right, is we don't even know the origin of those thoughts. So I can't point to a part of your brain, like say the prefrontal cortex, and say thought originates there. We don't know. All we know is that these electrical impulses are kind of bombarding us. And to your point, not only are they negative, and they're the ones that, because we have this negativity bias as well. We have this built-in negativity bias for survival purposes, which we've overused. But not only that, for most people, those are the same thoughts, the same impulses every single day. So trying to pull yourself out of that as a starting place is difficult. I do talk about how precisely to do this, and we can get into that. But before you even do that, shake it out. A lot of this is in your physical body, and it's beautiful the way, again, to reference what you were saying a minute ago, the Eastern traditions knew this. They knew it all along. The Western traditions are catching up now with brain body scans, right? We can see these chemical messengers actually being released from the brain when you're stuck in a thought pattern and an emotional offsets, right? These chemical messengers go down, they flood the different parts of your body, different organs of your body. But the Eastern traditions, they knew this. They talked about chakras. They talked about those spinning wheels. They talked about the importance of kind of purifying yourself of the muck. And the Western science is finding the same thing. But again, the fastest way to start changing, also so that you can repattern these thoughts and you can learn how to think, essentially, and again, we can come back to that, is through the body. And so
are you talking that people should start to feel it? Feel your emotion? Is that what you're saying?
Great question. Feel it, move it.
Feel it and move it.
Yeah. So one of my most favorite things to recommend is a practice called shaking. And a lot of people probably have tried this or they felt it at some point or another. And when I learned this, I was in the south of France, and there was this movement that I went to a retreat for. And the woman who founded this practice, she talked about shaking. She said, imagine a gazelle being chased through the grasslands by a tiger. The gazelle gets away. However, the gazelle does not go to therapy for the next 10 years. About this time that the tiger was chasing her, what the gazelle does is she shakes through every part of her body, releasing the tension, releasing the fear, and goes back to being a gazelle. Now, why this is so important is we hold these patterns. They're literally patterns. And again, the Eastern traditions, they knew this intuitively somehow, but the Western science is catching up. We're holding these patterns. I mean, they are true holding patterns in our bodies. So releasing. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I had a fellow on my show not too long ago, another scientist. He, in his world, he said between 80 and 95% of all illness is caused by these emotions, trapped emotions in our body that you didn't shake out or you didn't let go, you didn't release. And I think he's onto that. I think you're onto it too. I think it's stuck in patterns in our cells. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And a
You-
lot of scientists and medical professionals will say this same thing. They do say this. And it's funny how they assign these percentages, right? I believe we're ultimately going to come to the point where we realize it's 100%. What's going on in our bodies is a reflection, very much to your first point, of what's happening on the level of the mind.
Yeah, and I think the body is a reflection of what's going on in the mind. So you can, it's all connected. It's all connected, and we can look at like you said, you can't measure, you can't see if a thought is coming from your subconscious mind, your conscious mind, or something outside of you, or maybe in a higher, super conscious mind or cosmic consciousness. You don't know that. I don't know if we'll ever be able to know where that is. Maybe we will. Maybe AI will be able to distinguish that, but right now all we can see is where it lights up the brain. And so I like your methodology about, listen, let's just start with the body, let's start with the feeling, let's get rid of these emotions. It's like if you're walking down the street and somebody says, I don't like the way you look, and all of a sudden you feel this. Somebody can feel it and get upset, or just somebody else goes, man, that's interesting point of view. That's the difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a training, unfortunately, most of us have been trained in the opposite way. We've been trained to get upset. And then we trained ourselves to keep getting upset about everything. And that can even be the good things, that we want to hold on to. It's the same principle.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, listen, I got to take a quick break. We come back. A couple of things. I'd love to know the keys from your point of view of letting go of upsetness. And I want to get into your new book. So we'll be right back.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call. So please call right now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. I'll be right back with my guest, Cortney McDermott, in just a second. But I wanted to remind my guests then, and especially my new guests out there, if you will subscribe to our YouTube channel, if you go to youtube.com/@thecouragenetwork, where our Healit shows are and also our Voices of Courage shows, you'll be able to not miss any shows. Plus, you'll be able to share these shows with people that you love and care about. So I hope you'll take us up on that. All righty, back to Cortney. Cortney, all right. So let me just get to that one question real quick. How do people get rid of their upsetness, or their reactions all the time, and be able to maybe respond in different ways?
One of the first things to do and to learn how to do is to relax. And that can be really frustrating, especially if if you're in a place where you're, kind of spinning your wheels. But it's so important in the resetting process and being able to change your brainwave frequencies, right? Because again, in order to change the thoughts, we need to change how we're vibrating. So another way to do that is just simply relax. And lots of times people will tell me, they'll shrug this off. And if you shrug it off, it really is at your own detriment, because you just keep spinning and wondering why am I spinning? So it's super simple. One of the things I tell people or I encourage people to do is to yawn. Even just yawning for 20, 30 seconds is one of the most powerful exercises we can do. And it's funny, we were trained not to do it. But when we do it, what happens is, one, we're sending a message to our vagus nerve, right, which is the largest nerve. It's connected to all sorts of things in our body. We're sending a message that we're safe. Okay. And the notion of safety is critical for us to move into different thought patterns. So just yawning for 15, 20, 30 seconds is going to start to do that. It's also going to release a lot of neurochemicals that are really yummy and juicy for the body, like oxytocin and serotonin and things like that. So you're really giving yourself a boost. It's a great thing to do also with teams and things. Or another thing I recommend is just getting horizontal for a few minutes. And oftentimes people will say, well, I can't just go lay down. Or they'll say, I don't have 5 minutes to go lay down. And what I'll suggest is, if you to paraphrase from the Dalai Lama when he was talking about meditation, but if you think you don't have 5 minutes, lay down for an hour.
I love that.
What's happening, is you're moving out of beta, which is, if you're feeling that spinning energy, you're in beta, probably high beta in terms of brainwave frequencies. And those are just cycles per second, right? The hertz that your brain is vibrating at. And you'll start to move out of this frequency of beta, or you'll move into low range beta. So you'll get more creative. You'll be more resourceful. You'll be able to start reframing your thought patterns. Then you move into alpha, and that's even better. And then you can move into theta, where you start to release catecholamines, which are vital for learning and memory, all sorts of things. Potentially, and I've done this myself and I've experienced other people doing it together in different types of meditation, you can move into delta. You can move into other frequencies where you're releasing things like human growth hormone, your real-time youthing. We have this fountain of youth within.
We do.
And it's just phenomenal when we start to access it by just relaxing, allowing ourselves to reset so that we can do some of this more arduous work that I was talking about at the beginning of reframing and consciously directing the thought patterns, which very few people have been taught how to do.
Yeah, we got to learn it. I know for me, we all have different energy levels and how much endurance we can go. For me, after about 4 or 5 shows, then it's time for me just to stop everything. I go and I sit, and I'm a 30-year meditator, so I know how to go into higher states of consciousness very quickly. And what it does is it completely revives me. Vitalize me. I have the same energy in the afternoon that I had early in the morning, and the same thing at night, right? Because I've learned how to do that. Everybody can learn it, and that's what Cortney's teaching here. Cortney, I want to switch gears for just a second, and I want to get to your book, because you got this amazing book out. I want to shift into self-esteem, self-confidence. I think that, what happens in my world, right? I've been coaching individuals around this for many, many decades. And what happens is that when somebody lacks this energy, this vitality, or lacks focus, their mind's not working right. What happens? They set their intention to go accomplish something, or they have the list, let's say, and they can't get to it, but they've committed to it. And every time they commit to it, it seems like it chips away a little bit of their self-confidence or self-esteem. All right. So I know you've got another take on that. I want to hear your take on that. Go for it.
Okay. So there's different parts to that question, and I love it. I'm going to start with the origin of confidence, right? We talk about confidence, and a lot of times people think, oh, that means I'm going to stand up, or that means I'm going to do all the things that I need to do. And really, confidence, it comes from the Latin confidere, which means with trust or with reliance. And so when we have that trust and reliance in terms of the way life is unfolding, really, when we learn how to cultivate that, that's when we are able to leave from this place of, okay, I get to do what I'm meant to do in this moment, and I can trust in this, and I can keep moving through these different things that are coming up, right? But most of us are choosing not to trust. And it's pretty ironic thing, because we trust in virtually every single thing that's occurring, both within us and outside of us. We have to for our survival. So when we choose not to trust, it's that tiny bit that we take over, right? It's not the beating of my heart. I don't think, okay, now is my heart going to keep beating? It's that little bit that's left over that I say, oh, I need to control that relationship, or I need to control the outcome of the way this is going in my business, or whatever that looks like. And that's when we've given up also the bigger picture around confidence. But this other piece that you're talking about.
Let me pause you there, because I think that's such an important piece that you just said. It's, it's trusting on how life is unfolding. Because I think that a lot of people are trusting in their ability to create checkoff lists, their ability to maybe set these goals, these high expectations. And then what happens is, when you get frustrated, that takes away your energy. But when you allow yourself to go with the flow, I can try, and Cortney will say this, and I'll guarantee it, you'll have more energy to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish, but not when it's stuck energy, not when you're frustrated, not when you're angry, not when you're upset. That shuts everything down. Okay, next step, go.
Yeah. And I also want to say that because when I was working in corporate, I was checking off all the lists and I was doing all the things. But like I said, I was pretty miserable and I was racing around. I felt kind of important, I guess you could say, quote unquote. I felt like a very important person. But it wasn't true because inside of me, I didn't have this trust. What trust was based upon in that version of me was being able to do something that meant that everything was okay, or to be a certain way so everything could be a certain way, instead of being like, oh, I'm great. And then what arises from there is astronomically beautiful. So yeah, I'm with you. I love that you share that and that you've experienced it personally. It's a huge difference in how you live your life. The second piece around that you were inquiring about, or sharing, was this, and this is also important, that the more we actually don't do the things we say we're going to show up for, the more we feel kind of a drain of our energy, right? So we have this tank, we all know this. We wake up in the morning, we got a pretty full tank, right? Most of us, not always. And especially if you're running on high stress, like we were talking about pre-chat, pre-show. If you're running on that, you might not have the fullest tank, but still it's at the fullest that it's probably going to be in those early hours, unless you do something later, like what you were talking about, meditation or resting, where you get the full tank back. And so we've got this full tank, and how most of us are using it is sort of in the inverse of how you want to be using it if you want to start feeling what it is that, Ken's referring to. So if most of the time, if people are starting their day on their cell phone, right? And it's just gotten there's such an addictive quality, right? And we know this, trillions of dollars are invested annually to keep you glued to that thing, right? And to use it as an excuse of like, this is my alarm, or I need it for this or that or the other thing. But what happens is it significantly diminishes your cognitive performance the more you're on your devices. So it's pretty fascinating to see, like, even studies where if you leave your cell phone out on a table and you're not even looking at it, that itself will also diminish these cognitive capabilities or capacities that I'm talking about. So it's like, if we're starting our day that way and we start to drain those resources that are available to us by focusing on other people's priorities and all these other things, we're literally robbing from ourselves. And so if we start to just change it a little bit, and you can just do this with some, whoever's listening, if you're feeling like, oh, okay, I want to gain some of that back, is okay, just that first 5 minutes, like Warren Buffett said something to the effect of, don't test the depths of the water with both feet. Don't jump in and say, okay, I'm going to go for an hour every morning and make sure I do my things. But really spending those early times, or those times when you know that you're at max capacity, to start taking care of the things that are important for you. And oftentimes it's the things that aren't really urgent, but they're really important and they've been building up. And I teach whole time models on this because what I've realized is I have way more time. And, people ask me all the time, they say, you must be so busy with all the things. And I say, I am the least busy person you will ever meet. And that really shocks people. And I actually removed that word from my lexicon years ago. I will never say I'm busy, because I'm absolutely not. And so it's this reclaiming these spaces. And the more you do it, the more space is going to expand around you to be able to meet some of those things and increase that sense of possibility, I would say, more than real confidence, but possibility. Yeah.
Here's the analogy I give. You ever gone on vacation and you come back and, man, you got more money in the bank, or you everything's easy, everything's flowing. You go and you say to yourself, I should go on vacation more often because everything's going well. Well, it's I love what you're saying, because, my life is filled with a lot of space, because I've learned that principle too. It's interesting. Slow down to succeed. Take stuff off your plate to succeed. The more you could just, I would say, zen your life, zen your business, the more success you have. It's just the opposite of what people think. They're going 90 miles an hour, and they're the least productive people out there. The one, in fact, if you, anytime you see somebody that's really productive, you can usually walk into their office and they'll maybe have one file on that they're working on, but their desk isn't all cluttered. It's not full of stuff, right? It's usually that way, right? Mm-hmm. So these are amazing principles. All right, listen, I told you I'd get to your book. I'm going to do this, then we're going to get to the break. I want to show the audience, you got a new book out. Give yourself permission. Be confident, be happy, be you. And I know you told me you can get it at Barnes & Noble or, anywhere, Amazon, where books are sold. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk all about your new book. Okay, we'll be right back.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. We're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids, and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Kennedy Foster. I'm talking with author and masterful TEDx speaker and so much more, Cortney McDermott. All right, Cortney, you got this amazing book out there. Give yourself permission. Tell me, what are the benefits my audience is going to get by reading your book?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So one of the things that we were just talking about in terms of time, right? One of the things that a lot of people aren't realizing is that how they're using time or how they're allocating this most precious resource, how they can completely flip that on its head to be doing exactly what it is that you and I are alluding to here of living more, having so much more space and so much more peace around your life. And that was also, for me, this is so huge because once people get this secret, I'm like, oh my God, it's the yummiest thing when you start to realize that you don't need to be busy and that busy is for bees. Then you can kind of just leave that in cold in its tracks. So that's one thing. Another thing is I love the chapter around having fun, because what I've seen is a lot of high performers and definitely people listening to this show. Gosh, you're amazing if you're listening to this show. Really, you're already so amazing. And the thing is, we are really missing that piece about how to have fun and the importance of having fun. And when you start to really tune into that frequency of fun, how much your life can change. And so I've seen that a lot of people just being like the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and anything to kind of feel better instead of really resourcing that from within and finding it from this almost silly place. And the magic that can happen, I call it, you can call it magic or whatever you want, but the resultant just joy that you can be experiencing, even in moments that are difficult. You're like, wow, this is amazing. I get to live this, right? So I think the transference of a lot of that, a lot of times people tell me that when they listen to the book, because the audio version just became available a couple months ago, which was super exciting. And people say, well, I just listened to it and it's like a transmission, right? It's like, somehow I just got it, right? And they will talk about, people have written in with the ways their lives have changed, how they've gotten out of some dire situations, how this book totally helped them reframe, or how the science was so easy, how they tried to understand some of the science, but they weren't able to in other texts. And they would just like kind of fall asleep when they were reading some of these other books that were trying to teach them how to change their brainwave frequencies or something. And how instead, they say, I zoomed through this and I feel like I really get it now and I can apply this. So that's a lot of the feedback we've been getting, and I'm joyous about it. Yeah.
I'm joyous for you. It's interesting when I read a book that has wisdom in it, it completely shifts my energy, my frequency. It aligns with that, my vibration. And same thing with audio, right? When there's certain people like you that have this resonance to their voice, and it's a frequency. And when you can tune into that, it'll raise your frequency, and then you'll be able to. It's interesting because what happens is, in my experience, is we raise that frequency, and you're listening to the author. And I bet this has happened to a lot of people that listen to books on tape. All of a sudden, you'll have a creative idea, or all of a sudden, something will come to you and go, "Wow, that's what I need to do," and it totally realigns you, and you're off to where you need to be. It's brilliant. So congratulations on that. That's, and people are already telling you that. So if you want to raise your energy and your frequency and your vibration, it's simple. You go out and you give yourself permission to go get her book, Courtney's book. It's interesting because sometimes that piece, Courtney, where people get so distracted, right? It's like what gets distracted? The mind. The mind is like going here and there and everywhere. And here's what I've learned about my own mind. And I bet you a lot of people can relate. If I sit there and I think about, well, should I get Courtney's book or not? Well, maybe I will. Yeah, I think I might. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. My mind can talk me out of anything. When I go, this is resonating with me, I'm taking action, and I go take action right now. I just go do it if it resonates with me. I hope my audience is listening to that advice.
Yeah, I'm the same. I have to act on it, and I think that's one of the keys to real success. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a key to success. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how you reframe limiting beliefs. I know that's in your book, and embrace resilience.
Yeah, well, I love how we set the stage for it with the first part of this interview in terms of just communication together, which is amazing, is just how we can first go through the body, right, as a portal of opening up these channels of the mind differently, and then also just relaxing and how that helps us do the same thing. And I think once we've kind of played around with those for a little bit, we can start moving into these limiting beliefs, right, which are these thought patterns that we've been talking about. And it's funny because most people say I think, which is sort of the equivalent of saying I'm conducting the trillions of biochemical reactions occurring in my body every second, right? Because if you go back to those thought impulses being largely undirected, we're actually not thinking. And I think Descartes, he really messed us up with this, with, je pense donc je suis, I think therefore I am. And also just subsequently this idea that we're sort of controlling this process. But when you start to get a hang of, you start to, again, the physical first, liberating a lot of that energy, relaxing, again, changing those brainwave frequencies, you can start to move into these thought patterns. And what this looks like is actually deciding what's the new thought pattern and how do I want to play with it? How can I play with a new thought pattern around, for example, my health? And it's really important to notice like different strokes for different folks. I feel like if anybody's telling you do it this way, it's sort of missing the mark. Because the potion, for it, or the way into it is actually through yourself. Like you're going to know, you're going to feel when there's something that is really calling to you. And so when you start to play around with new thought patterns, and again, it's not what anybody else says, it's what the thought pattern, the new thought pattern that you want to play around with. One of the most effective ways to take a new thought pattern, which is also referred to as an affirmation. There's two ways. One is to kind of frame it as a question, because our subconscious mind struggles much less with that than an affirmation that we don't believe subconsciously or unconsciously. And so, giving yourself a question, like one of my favorite ones is who is he, or who is she, or who is they, however that is. It's just, who is that person, that character that I'm stepping into, that I'm becoming? How does that character move? How does that character talk? That kind of thing. But also just even something that helps you feel juicy and alive. And you can use that. Moving, for example, is a great way to start to move that into your system and have it take over a lot of those other limiting beliefs that are unconsciously guiding you. So again, it goes a lot in the book because it's so important for us to learn this skill.
It's so important to learn that skill. And you're right. Descartes had it wrong. I think it's I am, therefore I think, not I think, therefore I am. It's totally backwards. In other words, it's I be, therefore I live. And it's that place and I love what you're saying here. There's a part of us that, and I ask my clients this all the time, who are you becoming? And I ask them, who will you be in the next, let's say, 6 months? Who is that you're going to be? You're playing, if you're playing a role in your business and you're the manager, well, that's great. You're manager of the business. Who would you like to be? Well, I like to be the supervisor. Great. Okay. So play that role. I'd like to be the CEO. Start feeling that in. Start visualizing. A lot of people can't visualize. You can feel it, though. A lot of people can feel what it might be like. They might say, well, what would other people be telling me if I was in that position? Well, maybe you'll hear that, right? Mm-hmm. So there are ways that we can step into this. And I'll just tell a quick story of mine. When I was younger, I wanted to buy a house, and I didn't have the money. I was working for a company that was, I was buying houses for a company, and they were paying me a commission for each house I went out and found for them that they could buy. And I thought, man, I'm never going to get the down payment for this. I'm struggling. I thought, well, okay, what would have to happen? Well, I need to buy a really large piece of property. And anyway, long story short, I would go home every day, put on music and dance and visualize it and think about it and shake it up, and just every day. And I knew exactly what that check was going to be. I had that in my head. Well, long story short, I found an apartment unit that the people bought. This first apartment unit this company ever bought. And I got my commission that I needed, the exact amount that I visualized, danced to, and got. Okay, and I did that within 60 days. Okay, not bad. But that's the principles we're talking about. Feel it, get it, visualize it, dance, shake it, get it done.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And people listening, sometimes I feel like they can't tap into that feeling because there's a lot of muck in the way.
Yeah.
And so that's why this dancing thing is so important. And again, the Eastern traditions knew it. The Western science is catching up to these brain body scans. There's just gunk in the way. That's all. So exactly, dance, shake, move it, go for a walk around the block, and then allow yourself to just settle into that yummy energy of like what you can imagine. And really imaging it in, and it will happen. The less muck you have, the faster it happens.
100%. Well, listen, what advice do you have for people that are just starting on their self exploration journey? They're just stepping into, this is all good stuff that you and Cortney are giving, Kim, but I'm just kind of starting on this journey. Where would you guide them to be?
Well, first of all, in shows like this, where you're getting you're getting this direct, like, for example, I have a 3-year waiting list for working with me one-on-one. Okay. And here, this information of what I'm sharing is available right now. So if there's something in resonance, Ken, you're doing your shows are amazing. I've listened to them and all of the insights that you're providing with people of living the truth of this, right? You can feel that. And so if people are in resonance with it, as you referred to it earlier, is a perfect way of referring to it. So like if you're feeling that, what it means is it's true for you. You're calling this information. So the more you can kind of surround yourself, right? Because Einstein said the environment is the sole governing agency of the particle. right? So we get to choose on some level what that external environment is going to be so that we can start reshaping the internal environment to change that particle. So I would say, if someone's just starting out, definitely flood yourself with a lot of this stuff until it becomes your own, until you start to realize, oh, gosh, I did have that the whole time. It's like Dorothy with the ruby slippers, oh my God, it was there the whole time and I didn't know it. But we have to kind of shed some of those layers. So a lot of the stuff we talked about today is quick and easy. You can action it very easily. But I think if you're still, at the very beginning and you're feeling like I'm struggling, go to these things. They're gonna remind you, all learning is remembering, as Aristotle put it, right? Yeah.
100%. You said something earlier in the show that I really relate to. And you said that my audience is an amazing audience, and they are. They're brilliant. They're learners. They're leaders. They're people who want to grow, develop, and be all they can be. And they buy your books. They buy books that are helping them to upshift themselves and to be able to have more harmony, have more coherence with themselves and nature, so that they can step into and become the best version of themselves. Cortney, we're out of time now. It went like that. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Thanks so
much. And all of you, I want to thank you for tuning in today. This has been another amazing show. I learn from our guests all the time. I love Cortney's points of view. I hope you'll go out and get her book right now, because it's a book that will help you to upshift your thinking in ways that you probably haven't even thought of. So go do it. Go do it. All right. Till next time, take some time to slow down and succeed, to heal your life.